An important key to being a great Scrum Master, Agile coach, or even manager is being super effective as a change agent. The problem is, change is really hard. And when it comes to improvements, you can't just rule by fiat. It doesn't really work that way, especially in knowledge work. And while there are no silver bullets, there are some tools and some frameworks that we can use to help make sense of our goals, bring some structure to our efforts to uncover a few options we may want to try. And so in this video, I'm going to cover a particular tool that I like to borrow from the product management world, and that's called impact mapping. We'll use impact mapping by kind of turning it around and pointing it back squarely at our own internal organization. Before we do that, though, I want to wrap this in a technique from Jason Little called lean change management. And I'm not going to go super deep into it. If you want to do a deep dive, check the link in the description. Jason's got a great website that kind of really goes deep on this. For our topic today, though, all you really need to know is that in lean change management, we have this continuous flow of three things. We have insights, options, and experiments. And so insights is where we are just gathering intelligence. We are talking to people, we are reviewing data, that sort of thing. Options is where we are coming up with, well, options, right? What are some things we could do, and how do we weigh those against each other in terms of cost, how long they might take, whether it's the right time to introduce that type of change, and so on. And finally, we get to experiments, which is where we select one or a few of those options and we treat them as a real experiment. We come up with a hypothesis, we introduce it, we test, we monitor, then we review the outcomes. And so impact mapping kind of fits in that options section. It's really all about that, coming up with options and perhaps setting the stage for successfully experimenting with those options. Now, in the product world, product managers often rely on impact mapping as a way to ensure that our deliverables are very tightly aligned to our users' needs and to our ultimate goals as a business. And while it is very powerful for making sure we build the right features, I found it to be very helpful as a tool when we are trying to make improvements to our organization. And so there are really four components to building an impact map when it comes to organizational improvements. First, we have the goal, right? What is the thing that after reviewing all of our insights, we feel like this is a good goal that we want to achieve? We need to understand who is involved here, right? What are the personas, the people, the different roles, stakeholders, sponsors, however specific we want to be, whose change in behavior might lead us to the goal. Right, so whose change in behavior might lead us to the goal? So that's what we mean by who. Then we get into the how, right? Specifically, how can they help to achieve the goal? So what are the change in behavior that if they do these things, we are likely to achieve our goal, right? So are there things that they should start doing, stop doing, that sort of thing. And then finally, we get to the what, right? This is the equivalent of the deliverable, right? What can we, as the change agent, do to encourage those changes in behavior, right? What are the actions we can take? What are the small nudges that we can make? That sort of thing. Okay, so let's take a second to kind of walk through this sort of real-ish world example. Okay, so let's assume that we've done all of our insights and we've gathered all of our intelligence and data and we've been reviewing all that. And we kind of came to this conclusion that a really good goal would be to automate 80% of our existing manual test cases by the end of the year. Okay, let's just assume that that's the goal that we've come up with. I don't know if that's a good goal. I guess it's a smart goal, right? It seems to tick all of those boxes. So let's run with that, right? We want to automate 80% of our existing manual test cases by the end of the year. Well, who might be able to help us have that impact? There are some obvious ones here and then maybe some less obvious ones. And part of the point of the exercise is to brainstorm on the who, right? Who can actually be involved in this change? So there are some obvious ones, right? Programmers definitely can help us with our goal of automating 80% of our existing manual test cases. Quality engineers or QA folks or whatever the job title is, they definitely can have a big role to play in that. Managers, right? All these people have managers that set expectations, that sort of thing. And then finally, the one that might be a little bit less obvious in terms of who might have an impact here are product managers, right? Product managers are likely to have an impact in our ability to achieve that goal that we are after. Okay, so now we've got the who, and there are probably some others that we could think of here depending on your organization, but I think this is a pretty good place to start. And by the way, as you are going through this, I really think it's important to not do this by yourself. I know we're kind of doing this as an exercise, as an individual here today. When you're doing this out in the real world, this should really be done by your team, right? Whether you're a group of Scrum Masters or Agile coaches, a change team, even an executive group that is looking to make improvements in your organization, the value of this exercise really does skyrocket when you do this as a team. So it can be helpful as a tool, maybe as an individual, but really do this as a group, you're likely to get much better results. Okay, so we've got our who figured out. So what are the impacts we think that they can have here, right? The how. What are the changes in behavior of those folks that might lead us to our goal? And so I've got a whole bunch of things here. I've just sort of made these up. I don't know if these are right or wrong, but just to give you an idea, right? So from a programmer's perspective, certainly if our programmers were to start adding automated tests as part of the work of delivering product backlog items, right, or features, whatever you want to call them, if they were to do that, that would probably help us with that impact, right? Would help us with that goal. If they were not closing out their PBIs until automated tests are added and passing, this is likely a change in behavior that we need to see to be able to get to that goal. There may also be some work from the programmer's perspective to catalog some of the work that is needed to catch up on all of those previous manual test cases that then need to be automated. Okay, so a few different behaviors here, and let's start linking these up together. So we have our goal, we have some programmers that can help with that goal, and we have some changes in behavior that we think might actually lead to that goal. All right, so let's visualize this and kind of link everything up in a way that makes sense visually. Okay, so let's keep playing this out. We could do the same exercise for all the different personas that we're going to cover here, but let's just kind of take this to conclusion with the programmers, right? So we've got some impact, some changes in behavior that if the programmers start doing this stuff, we might get to our goal. Well, how do we affect that change, right? That's the what. What are we, the change agents, going to do to encourage, to nudge that? What are some actions that we can take? And so based on those examples that we just went through, I really think that this group probably needs to have a good definition of done session here. Right, we're talking about not closing out product backlog items until automated tests are completed. Well, we probably need to talk about that from a definition of done perspective, especially if we're doing something like Scrum. So that's something that we could do, right? We can facilitate that session, probably bring some of the team members in, bring some of the managers into that. All right, so that's a concrete thing that we can do as change agents that I think might actually help impact those two items. All right, so that's kind of an example all the way through to the end. Right now, we've got something that we can do, and we can kind of repeat this, and we can come up with different ideas. Right, there are probably some other options that we can think of that will help nudge our developers, our programmers to start doing this kind of stuff. Right, and so we would repeat this for each of the personas. Right, come up with some changes in behavior. Right, if our quality engineers could teach our software engineers to write automated tests, that would probably help, right? And the thing that we could do here is maybe facilitate some of that learning, right? Now we've got another chain going through here. And that's kind of it, right? Once you have all of these options, we are not committing to anything just yet, right? This is about brainstorming, trying to come up with as many ideas as we can possibly think of. At some point, though, we do want to turn one or more of these into some actual experiments, and that's when we kind of get back into that lean change management flow where we are preparing and introducing and reviewing some experiments based on these actions that we've come up with here. Okay, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. You can kind of zoom back out and see your entire impact map, how everything sort of maps together and goes all the way back to our goal. Okay, and if you try this out, I would love to hear from you. So go ahead and drop a comment below or get in touch somehow. I really love hearing how people are using these tools out in the field. So go ahead and do that. If you've got any questions, also drop those in the comments, and maybe we can do a follow-up video sometime in the future.